Athens, your city manager, Seth Sumner here, and I have guest with me, Dr. Melanie Miller with Athens City Schools. It is, what's today? It is Tuesday, April 7th. We have been at this since the 19th, 17th, somewhere around there. This has been going on for too long. But fortunately, we're starting to see some numbers, some data sets that are showing that we are getting closer to the peak, the projected peak here in Tennessee. And we are projecting to peak earlier than the United States and even some of the states. I know, shout out to Kentucky, they were calling us out early on. Looks like we're going to peak before Kentucky and actually have much lower cases of infection and death in Kentucky now, if those projections hold true. So that means people have to continue doing what we all know, being responsible, being socially distant from each other, staying home at all costs, except for those essential activities. I did want to share with you the Tennessee Department of Health data for today, as it is updated every day at 3 p.m. tn.gov on the Health Department's page. And we see that there is a spike. This is surge week. We are going to see larger and larger numbers, bigger increases in infected numbers and unfortunately in deaths. And that is unfortunately occurring. We are seeing 4,138 positive cases through today. And of course, these numbers aren't going to, we're not going to see them decrease. This is everybody that has tested positive since we've started testing counts in these numbers. So they will only increase until we reach that maximum and we actually have people stop being tested as positive. So that is now out of 52,874 tests, which leaves 48,736 negative tests in Tennessee. We have over 466 Tennesseans now recovered. We are very blessed and very happy to hear that number increasing. There are now 408 hospitalizations and now 72 Tennesseans who have lost their life to COVID-19. We do want to inform you of the county number. Yesterday was 13 straight days without a single next positive case. So we've held at 3, and now we are still at 3 today. 14 days without another positive case. That is a blessing. That is incredible. So that means our folks are doing what they're supposed to be doing. They're being responsible. They're doing their part and staying apart. McMinn County has 254 negative tests now. I shared on WYXI this morning as part of the Main Street Athens. Every Tuesday morning at 8:15 they have a show on WYXI. And what I talked about on the show this morning was I actually created my own spreadsheet last night. I took the data set from the region, all southeast counties, southeast Tennessee counties. There's 10 in our health department region. And I took all the data as far as how many tests have been conducted, how many positive tests, negative tests, and have been able to determine what those rates are. What I'm so impressed about here in McMinn County is that out of the 10-county region in southeast Tennessee, we have the second highest number of tests. We're testing, we're certainly not the largest county in that district, but we're testing at a greater rate than most of our surrounding counties. And the other really good news is that as we've maintained only 3 positive tests in McMinn County, is that we have the second lowest infection rate in the district as well. Wonderful news. The only county that has a lower rate than us is Ray County, who has 0 positive results so far. So good for Ray County, and let's keep it up, Athens and McMinn County. So I do want to get to my guests after sharing those numbers and have a few more questions. We want to welcome Dr. Miller back to this update. Third time?
Well, second time. I came with the directors before, so it's good to be back.
Yes, good to be back with you. So we want to talk about Athens City Schools. I know parents and students are still have a lot of questions, and I know spring break is over, so we're trying to maintain some normalcy as far as advancement in learning and parents being able to pick up that in lieu of being in the classroom. And so I know right now our Athens City Schools are closed. We've been under a mandate for educational facilities to be closed since the 20th. And so we're kind of curious. Schools are closed. What are y'all up to?
Absolutely. So we are up to a lot, Seth. I just want to say that we are considered an essential institution, as you know, and so we are working very hard to do our part, to stay a part, but continue services for children. And by essential operations, we are tasked with three things: feeding students, academics for students, and then our basic essential operations. So the buildings are closed, granted, but school is very much in session. And so I want to take just a moment and just let everyone know that one thing that's happening is when you call our central office, that phone will always be answered. It's answered every day. We take information, we give out information, and if the person answering the phone cannot answer it, they will direct it to the correct person, and we'll make sure we get information out for any parent who needs anything. And we've assigned different roles and responsibilities. You were talking about how long has this been going on. We closed schools on March 13th. So we have been at this for quite a while. So what that means is many of our people are doing different things. Our bus drivers are not driving routes, but you will see our bus drivers preparing. Well, you might not see them because you don't see what's happening in the schools, but our bus drivers are preparing meals. They're a part of the food service distribution. We actually work today on some packets where bus drivers next week will be delivering specific packets for special needs students and things like that. So we have meals being prepared at Westside and Ingleside. We hand out food for over 900 students, and we provide 6 meals a week. So six breakfast, 6 lunch every week. That happens on Monday, and I'll come back to that schedule. We have 2 nurses, and before volunteers can come into that building and those 2 buildings and work, nurses take temperatures. So we're trying to do our part to make sure if anyone comes to the building to work and they have a temperature, they are sent home and cannot return until they've checked in with a doctor. So we're trying to do our part as well. We have copy machines in all of our buildings, and so we actually will have people that will be assigned to show up there to do copies. And again, we try to social distance as well, and we might just have one person in an office running thousands of pages, but that work is going on. But most importantly, Seth, our faculty and staff members, they're reaching out to students, because the most important thing is our relationship with our students. We know our students have experienced and are experiencing trauma in this situation, so we have our faculty and staff reaching out to them. We want them to still feel connected to their school family. And then finally, our faculty and staff members are meeting virtually, planning lessons, and every week, actually multiple times during the week with virtual lessons. So instruction is being planned and coordinated by our teachers.
So yesterday we had Lauren Shepard with us, and we talked about early on the Art Center took the option of closing down early, long before an order. And I absolutely have to give credit due here to our school system, to Dr. Miller, and to actually convening and coordinating with the other directors of schools in McMinn County and surrounding counties, that even before there was an order on March 20th, on the 13th, our schools met and decided to go ahead and get in front of this and close down before it was even ordered. And so I have to give credit and thanks that hopefully we can remain at 3 COVID positive for the rest of this period. We certainly pray for that. But credit is due with our schools and our small businesses that all got out in front of this and closed down early to make sure to limit that personal contact. So thank you for that leadership.
Welcome. Thank you.
So right now, you've tasked the teachers to continue teaching. Mm-hmm. You just can't be in person. So how are we able to accomplish that?
We're doing that in a variety of ways. First, I would be remiss if I didn't recognize Melanie Armstrong. She is our supervisor of instruction, and she is a guru of best practice, high quality materials, and really what is the best way to provide instruction and what are the materials. So she is leading that charge. So what she has allowed us to do is we've taken what we know as best practice, and she has helped us for it to evolve into the digital and the virtual world, until it gets down to the product that I mentioned. We're copying those packets and PDFs for students. So
for folks that don't have internet access.
That's right. Yes. So what that looks like, if you go to our AthensCitySchools.net page, the very first page, you don't have to go any further. There's a COVID-19 update, and then there's family resource page available, and so everything is there. One click and it's there. So for those parents who have internet, there's multiple. There's our baseline curriculum there that they can click on. They can print it or just use the screen. Nobody has to print anything. Or we also use that same baseline and we create learning packets. And we have copies of those, and I'll talk a little bit more about how to access those. But they are handed out with our meals. And so if students do not have internet, we have the packets for that. And for those that want to go above and beyond, there's additional resources on the website available if they want to move forward with that. Another thing that we provide in all of that are the answer keys in our baseline instruction. Because we know parents, they're trying to help their students and they need to know what's going on with that. And we're not asking anything to be returned to the teachers. We're limiting contact. So it is definitely a one-way. Information is being put out. We try to provide as much feedback via the answer documents as we can to limit interaction coming back. And also, many teachers already had online platforms, different ones. For instance, Class Dojo, some of our elementary teachers use that. So they're reaching out to students just like they did in the classroom. What we're not doing is trying to start anything new in this. We're using what we had to not frustrate parents or students or teachers. And one thing, and I hope everyone checks this out, I watched it today, it's the first time I got to watch it, that Tennessee has partnered with PBS. There's a great partnership. And here in Athens, if you have Comcast, it's Channel 13, WTCI. And so every day from 11 till 1, there will be a lesson, and it rotates. So if you go back to our website, you can see that schedule. For example, today at 11, I watched a 3rd grade ELA teacher teaching the lesson, math at 11:30, and then at 12, a 4th grade ELA, and at 12:30, math. And so I watched those. So for our students who don't have internet access, but they have the TV, there it is, and they can actually log in and get that instruction, and they can log on to any if the parents want them to see what they can do at a higher level, or if the students feel like they're a little behind and they want to go to a lower level, those schedules are there. What I do want parents to know about that, though, is the guide, the TV guide itself is not reflecting that. So I think today it might have said Sesame Street's on at 11 o'clock, but it's Tennessee Learning. Okay. So the guide doesn't reflect it. So it is on every day, 11 to 1, Monday through Friday. And then I think parents could also record that, and then it rotates sometime in the middle of the night if they wanted to set up a recording for that. But those are just some things that our teachers and our State Department and everyone collectively doing to try to provide constant learning for our students. What we know is we taught all of our standards before spring break. That's always our goal. Get to spring break, cover every grade level standard. Because when we return from spring break, the spring testing schedule opens April 13th. So we have a few weeks to review, and then we go into assessment. So a lot of this is review over material the kids have already been taught, but now is another opportunity to keep that learning going. So I'm very proud.
And we're not taking the tests.
We are not, and even if
Tests.
we have reopened school May 1, we will not take any time to participate in any tests. It is a local decision, but we would not suggest that. And
Okay. Well, I think the students will be happy to hear that at least. Now, on the PBS option, that is on Comcast. Do you know if there's a streaming availability? Because a lot of people are cutting the cord now.
There are. So if you go to the PBS website, the same exact lessons are streamed on that website. And it's actually, you can do that at any time. You just click on the link, find the grade level you want, and watch it. And actually there's also PDF packets for extra practice for the students if anyone wanted that based upon the lesson they saw.
Okay, excellent. So I, of course, have 2 first graders in Athens City Schools, and my wife is an educator in Athens City Schools. So I need to know about that PBS, being able to access that. But what else do I need to know, or what do I need to be doing as a parent?
I think the first thing is, first as a parent, just remain calm. You know, parents have it very hard right now. And even, you just mentioned your wife being an educator. Keep in mind, our teachers are at home, possibly with a spouse working from home, dealing with their own children, doing lessons, and then they're trying to teach as well. So I think everybody has to offer grace to each other. We need to give grace to our parents who are dealing with a lot, and hopefully grace back to the teachers as they are all balancing and juggling. But the biggest thing I think parents need to know first is they can expect our teachers to reach out to them, and they can reach our teachers. So what we put in place as far as the expectations of our teachers, they have to check emails twice a day from internally with our system, and then they have to designate particular times that, I don't want to call them office hours necessarily, but designate times that they check emails and check parent questions, emails, concerns, interactions, that kind of thing, because our goal, and our teachers know the expectation, is that within 24 hours they provide a response. So if a parent has a question and they want to email the teacher, no, within 24 hours there will be a response.
Good.
So I hope parents realize that. So teachers are available by email. If they had online platforms previously, those are still available. And obviously by phone if necessary, that's available too. Also, parents need to realize that print and digital versions are available of all of our baseline instruction. I just kind of alluded to that. Online, it's on our resources, but we're giving out those learning packets on Mondays and Wednesdays. So parents need to know if you need meals, 11 to 1 every Monday and Thursday. I think I said Wednesday. Every Monday and Thursday, West Side and Ingleside, you can drive through those schools and pick up meals. But that is also where we have learning packets. So if parents need learning packets for their children, they can pick them up there easily. They can print them off the website. Staples, we have to give a shout out to Staples. They're offering free printing to Athens families if they bring in a flash drive with those documents for their school materials. So great for a local business to do that for us. Now, one thing we're adding next week, because we do realize that our drive-thrus are getting larger every Monday and every Thursday. So next week, starting next Monday, we're adding City Park as a drive-through learning packet pickup. And that will be from 4 to 6, because we do know that some of our, especially like our healthcare workers, they're going to work every day, and so they don't have a need necessarily to drive through the middle of the day and pick up meals, but they need to get learning packets. So pre-K through 8th grade learning packets will be available at the City Park drive-through area, all grade levels, on Mondays and Thursdays from 4 to 6. So you have different options: midday, 11 to 1, pick up meals, pick up learning packets at Westside or Ingleside. Same day, Monday, Thursday from 4 to 6 p.m. City Park, all grade levels, pick up packets there. So I think those are the most important things right now that parents probably, that would be helpful to them.
Yes, wonderful. And children learn in different ways. Every people learn in different ways, and we need breaks from certain classroom type things. It's important to have a whole curriculum that helps nurture our children as much as possible in a learning environment, and that includes getting some energy out, physical education, that includes art, music, expressing themselves. How are children able to accomplish that during this time?
Yeah. So we have as I mentioned, we have virtual team meetings. So third grade gets together virtually, and they work on the ELA or the math, social studies and science. Those packets are being worked on as well. But so we have our music teachers, our art teachers, our PE teachers, our media specialists. They are coming together virtually as well and trying to connect different activities that they will also be putting on our website, and trying to figure out different ways to have learning packets, because that's the part that it's very hard to get on paper. But our family engagement coordinator is also pushing out activities such as this week. What's being pushed out is Easter is coming up around the corner, and so there's different craft opportunities and suggestions and activities, and what they're trying to do is say, when you create this, tag it back, post it, send us a picture, email us a picture, and we're trying to keep those connections with students, maybe like a challenge where if they see another student that's going outside and shooting the basketball so many times, or going outside and doing so many rounds of hopscotch or anything like that, that they post, email back to us to try to encourage students to stay engaged like that.
Excellent. Good thought. So I brought this up when we had all the directors of schools together, and I know it's popular for our parents with children with special needs. What ways are available to parents that have a special needs child during this time?
That's a great question, and that's a very, very special population, and we have the best special education teachers, speech and language pathologists, ESL teachers. The team we have, they are just phenomenal. So immediately, our supervisor of special programs is Molly McLean, and immediately she pulled in all of these special teachers, and they began to review every child's documentation, their IEP, their 504, and start making contact with parents. We've had IEP meetings over the phone if need be, if it were time, the time was scheduled to have that. We've looked at all the accommodations or those teachers have, and they have begun making accommodations according to the grade level or what they're doing. So what that looks like is they come together virtually as well, or I will just talked about our buildings being closed, but that's not to say that at Ingleside, we had a special education teacher who was in her room, scheduled with the principal to be in there by themselves, working on multiple packets for about 15 different individual children, working through that, making sure the needs were met. Those packets then were delivered to our central office. Then our transportation supervisor began working on addresses, because many of these will have to be taken to that home. And so the transportation supervisor is now creating routes, and we actually will have buses go out next week with documentation and products that were designed specifically according to a child's individual education plan. So that's one thing I'm very proud of our teachers and instructional assistants who are working on that. Our speech and language pathologists, some are setting up virtual one-on-one sessions with students to do speech sessions, or they may send links where students and parents can access for therapies to continue based upon that child's needs. And the same thing for our English as second language students. Those teachers are providing accommodations in learning packets and getting to those, so those needs are met.
Wonderful. You mentioned something earlier about the emotional needs. This is new, this is different for everyone, adults, kids, and our world, as we've seen, can change drastically the way that we're going about our daily life in just a matter of minutes. We've seen that happen several times during the course of the last few weeks. And so I want to follow up with what you mentioned earlier with how are we able to emotionally support our children and our students during this time?
Seth, that's one of those, that's really close to my heart. A lot of people probably don't realize my background is in counseling. I have a master's in counseling, and I did that prior to becoming an assistant principal. And so this is, we've used the word unprecedented so many times, I think it's taken on a new meaning. But many of obviously our students have never experienced anything like this. Many of our families, the parents, have not experienced anything like this. So we know that this is a trauma that reaches deep into the family, and since it's something new, no one really knows how to deal with it emotionally. And we've also kind of yanked students out of the school, from their school family, and that's similar to a death. That's similar to you. There's a grieving process that goes with that, because there's a loss. There's a loss of something for our children, so they have to process it, and it's real to every child. And I'll give you an example. We have children here that range from age 4 in pre-K all the way to our Tennessee Wesleyan graduates who may be 21 or 22. So for that graduate who is not getting to walk across the stage this year in May as planned, that is a loss to them, and that's real to that student. And I have a 22-year-old who's experiencing that at the University of Tennessee, and that's real to them. But for our 4-year-old or our 5-year-old, maybe in kindergarten, whose favorite pencil box is still school, that's concerning to them. So we need to realize that our children experience this trauma and this sense of loss, and it's real to them, and they're missing things. So acknowledging that is very important. So I just encourage all of our families to recognize that we tend to want to say, well, it'll be okay and it's fine, but our kids have to process and understand that it's okay if they feel like they've had a loss and it bothers them. But what we're doing, our school counselors are actually working together. They are actually recording lessons, counseling lessons, specifically to deal with loss like this and to provide encouragement. And we hope to actually get those up on Channel 95 soon. And I'm saying that now, they may already be ready to do that, but they are working on that, and that's the goal. So I'm hoping by next week that people can see that. And we'll also put that on our website as well, on our social sites. But I'm just real excited that our counselors are taking that on.
Good. I get it. I miss my friends too. So I do understand that. And what we're doing in our own household is you can, with your cell phone, you can video chat now. That's pretty easy to do. And so we're letting our kids video chat with their friends so they get some FaceTime with them and catch up. And we're letting them do that almost daily, and so it's been a really good exercise and helpful for their emotional stability during this time as well.
Absolutely.
So far, schools are slated to be closed through April 24th. Are there plans to reopen schools, or is it possible that they may not reopen? Do we know yet?
I think yes to both. Well, we followed the governor's recommendation. So I think from everything we are gathering from TOS, from our State Department, the governor will probably be making another recommendation in a couple of weeks. So we'll see, and obviously it's all based upon this situation, how things evolve and what happens. So what we're doing is we are planning for both. We actually are brainstorming and have teams working on both pathways. So we're actively planning for, if it works that we're able to reopen, the day before we bring students back, we will bring back all of our faculty and staff in order to reassimilate and look at what the next 3 weeks will be, because at that point we would have between 2 and 3 weeks of school remaining, depending on what that date was after the 24th. So we would be restructuring our time, determine knowledge gaps, just restructuring what it looks like those 3 weeks to try to provide specific instruction for students maybe that really missed out during this time.
Sure.
If we do not reopen the buildings, and again, we'll have to set up a time to wrap, when does the school year really end then? When does instruction end? The school year officially, no matter what, is going to end May 19th for students, irregardless. We know that. That's our calendar. So if parents are thinking, well, can I take a vacation? Then the school year is going to end
After the 19th.
after the 19th.
Hopefully we can all take a vacation somewhere.
Let's hope so, yes.
Get out of the house.
And so we may be wrapping up our online instruction the week of the 15th, but what we hope is that even if we don't reopen the buildings, that the social distancing and some of that has been relieved a little bit in a way that we can have some type of closure for students, even if it just means we set up a time where a parent and child can come into the building, retrieve their personal things that we mentioned have been sitting in the school since before spring break, and maybe say goodbye to the teacher and things like that. So we're actively planning ways to address both so that students are, again, emotionally taken care of in both those situations.
Wonderful. Dr. Miller, thank you for being with me again today. It's always wonderful to share the good message about what's happening while we have to be apart, and that education and growth of our children continues. We appreciate all that our teachers and caregivers are doing right now to continue that in place of the classroom time. Is there any special message that you would like to share with our friends?
Well, I do want to say that I just want to just talk about the energy level of one of our employees. Seth, it just makes you so proud when everybody's saying, how can I help? What can I do? Because everything has changed. So the energy level has been amazing. I'm so appreciative to every employee that we have. And we're giving out, I just want to say we're giving out books. Last week we gave away 500 books, and we're going to do that every other week because we're trying to push books out. And we had a teacher reach out to RIF, so we're going to have more books coming in. So I just want to shout out to our employees that are doing those, just going above and beyond and saying, hey, I thought of this, and I'm going to call. And that's just feeling the love and the dedication that our people have. And so I just want to be especially thankful to every single employee that's working for us right now. And I do want to tell our students how much we miss them. Students, families, we miss you so much. Schools are not schools without students inside the buildings. So we miss you, we're praying for you, and we hope to reunite very soon. That is our desire. So stay well, stay safe, stay apart. Let's all do our part so that we can all reunite again in a normal way very, very soon.
It is a difficult time for huggers, not to be able to hug one another and share that brotherly love or sisterly love. You talked about that can-do attitude that all of our teachers are sharing out there, and I really appreciate that. And that's what I refer to as the spirit of the friendly city. We see it in our citizens, we see it in our schools, we see it in all of the employees of the city of Athens. It is alive and well in our community, and it is a beautiful thing. I see more people as you're driving to the grocery store at home. You got the window down, you're waving, you're saying hello from a distance, and I love seeing that because that's that small hometown feeling that we get of everybody just pitching in and being kind and being responsible. I'd love to see that. So thank you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you for having us.
Yep. And thank you to all of our educators out there for continuing to carry the torch and help educate our children even though they're not in the classroom with you. Thank you very much for that. Tomorrow I will have Miss Lisa Dotson with me to talk about downtown Athens and Main Street Athens and the Thrive Partnership and all the cool things that are still going on with our downtown environment and some big plans coming up. And then Thursday we'll have Miss Kathy Price with us to update us on our industry, on jobs, on resources that are available to folks that may be out of work right now. There are jobs available in our community right now that need to be filled. They need help. And so she'll help give us a full picture of our economic status. And then, of course, I mentioned yesterday, I will be not turning the camera on Friday for Good Friday. We will be taking that off to spend with our family, as I know that you all will be. And so I appreciate your understanding, as we won't be reporting to you on that day. And with that, I'm very thankful and blessed to be your city manager and to be able to share the good news of now 14 days without another positive COVID person in McMinn County. That's a blessing. Keep it up, folks. May God bless you, and may God bless Athens.